Okay, let's try this parabola inverse question. It says if the given ordered pair, 2 and 8, is a point on this function, f of x equals ax squared, determine a. Well, we know it's a parabola, and we know it's the parabola where x is greater than 0. It's got, this parabola has an axis of symmetry of the y-axis, x equals 0, and it's the positive branch on the right. It's on the right. That's what I'm looking at there anyways. But how can we figure out A? Well, all we do, we know that x is 2, so we put a 2 in there. And we know that f of x is 8. The value of the function at 2 is 8, so f of x is 8. So all we do is just put in 2 for x, 8 for f of x, or y, and then what do we get? We get 2 squared is 4, 8 divided by 4. We get a is 2 again. Okay, so a is 2. Determine the inverse function in the form y equals this time. Okay, we do the same thing. We've got, now that we know that a is 2, we go y equals 2x squared. So we go y equals 2x squared. And then what do we do to find an inverse? Well, we switch x and y. And then we make y the subject, divide by 2, and take the square root. But there's two branches here. X is greater than 0 here. If we want the inverse function, we've got the positive branch here of the parabola. This is a parabola on its side. We want the positive branch where x is greater than 0 here. The plus root x over 2, the positive branch. So when we sketch these two things, and how would you sketch it? Well, you know that both 0 and 0, if you put in 0 there, you get y is 0. And if you flip it, the inverse must have 0 and 0 too, because it's an inverse function if you switch x and y. But if we put in 1, 1 squared is 2, we get 1 and 2. So the inverse must be 2 and 1. Well, this is a parabola, but only the positive section. This is a parabola on its side. It's got to look like this. There's a parabola going up to 1 and 2. Each of these blocks is a half, 1 and 2. And this is a parabola on this side. The inverse must be 2 and 1. We don't know where they cross here, but there's a parabola here, a happy parabola, and there's a parabola on its side. There's the function f, there's the function f minus 1, and there's y equals x right in the middle. How could we figure out this half and half thing? Well, all we do is take y equals x and take the easiest one, 2x squared, and let them equal each other. And then what would you get there? Well, you should factor this and then factor it out, and you'll get x is equal to a half. I actually lost the x equals 0 by not doing this exactly properly. You should actually subtract x, then factor it out, and when you do that, you'll get x as a half, which means y is a half, because it's right there at the inverse thing here. That's where they cross each other. But yeah, that wasn't done so nicely. And I did get the solution there by dividing by x. You got to be careful dividing by x. You should actually factor it out and put it in a nice form, which will be like 2x minus 1 in one of the brackets, and then you get the solution. But there you go. It's still kind of right. Okay, there you go.